children and train them how to respond. But for many, if your response is to lash out, they are going to do that.
Yeah.
But also they're not thinking of you in that moment as an adult. They're thinking of you. They're gonna put that wall up on you already.
Yeah.
They're looking at you as you are disrespecting me. You're violating my space. And so, therefore, that's why you get the quick response, or you may get the attitudes and disrespectful words and all those things. They do.
Hey, you're now tuned in to Underdog Talk. I'm your host, Eric Jones Jr., the underdog with the heroic heart, and I have conversations with successful underdogs. And today I have Miss Sherie Scott. How are you doing today?
Everybody, I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Like your shirt.
Thank you.
You're brand ready.
I am brand ready.
See, I was brand ready for the other one, but I wore my other shirt the other day, so I just came with a different shirt. I'm repping somebody else's. I can't remember the guy. I met him at church, and he had this. He was a visiting pastor, so I bought it just to support him. So, you enjoying the summer?
You know what? It has officially started. I'm not off. I'm always on. But my children are home, so it's exciting to be able to kind of balance out my schedule a little bit to allow them to enjoy their summer.
Yeah, because my son, he gonna be with me for the summer, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what we're gonna do.
Listen, just go to parks and
everything
that's happening in the city.
That's what he want to do, is just go play basketball all day long. But my son is not an outdoor playing basketball.
Well, tell him they got some kids too.
But I signed him up, but he got summer school, so that kind of affects some of the stuff. I signed him up for a basketball league. It was supposed to start tomorrow, but it's gonna start in July. So I gotta figure out what we're gonna do for this little month. But we've been training. He don't really like me.
You that coach.
No, it ain't even that. It's just I don't think he understands the importance of conditioning, all the other stuff besides just scoring the ball.
Yeah, you got to do pre-work.
Yeah.
Well, that's how it is. My son and my husband, they had football training, I guess, yesterday, and so they're walking into that season because he's entering football. This is a new sport for him, so I can imagine. He is 8.
Oh, my son, he did flag in about 3 weeks, and
he want to do it.
We good.
Okay. Well, we'll see where it goes. That's what I'm like.
Because a lot of kids is different. I think he likes skiing.
What they got to do with anything? Nothing. What you trying to say? We don't like the.
No, that's just not his. I knew he wouldn't, because he's literally a little me, and it's like.
Well, he tried it.
He tried it, yeah. So he's like, I want to play tackle. No, let's try flag and see if he like that. Because it's the stuff that you got to do.
Yes, I agree with that.
Because it's meant, because I went to practices, they said it was 80% mental, 20% physical, which it is. Because if you don't know your routes, if you don't know how to turn and do all this different stuff, so it's a lot on the kid. But they got a lot of great football programs here in India. I give them that. Football is different than basketball. Yeah. Like, I enjoyed it. Yeah, definitely.
No, you're right. There's lots of opportunities. That's why we truly love Indianapolis. So,
you love Indianapolis. I wouldn't say we. I don't know.
It's a love, really.
I don't say who we. You.
Definitely my family.
I like it. It's cool. I think I have different opinions on things here in Indianapolis. Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, it's cool. I ain't going to say that. It helped me become an adult. And if I didn't move here, I don't know if I would have had my son. So that's how I look at it.
That's right. Blessings come out of every situation. Always.
Yep, they sure do. It's either a lesson or
I'm telling you, I agree with that.
So you're in education. You've been in education your whole long time.
Yeah.
Was that something that you wanted to do as a child?
Actually, it was. So I would.
Okay, all the women wanted to be teachers.
You know what? I did, teacher or nurse. I did. Those were my areas of love. And so teaching really hit me when I used to set up my dolls and play school with my sisters. And then I met my first principal, who was phenomenal. I mean, she dressed up every day, and I was like, she's so pretty. And the way she just commanded the room, and I was like, I want to be like her. And so all of my family had that same principal in my elementary school growing up. So it was nice because she knew my family. Mm-hmm. And that's why representation matters. She really influenced me, and that's why I wanted to be not only just a teacher, but also to see a principal. And got in my role in my journey.
So the last person I asked, she said she wanted to be a teacher when she was little. Me, on the other hand, not a piece of teaching was in my plans. Mm-hmm. That's crazy though. Like, I was telling her the same thing. Like a lot of teachers, they wanted to be teachers when they were younger.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and it's crazy when you see kids play teacher. It's like, and then they act like you. Like my kids would run the same stuff, and I'd be like, oh, I wonder what they say when they go home. Because, you know, as a teacher, you don't say, well, some teachers probably do, but I don't say nothing crazy. I say close to borderline, but you got to be you got to show kids you're a little off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got to show kids that you ain't got it all. But that's
a little edge to you. That's right.
Because if you don't, they'll walk all over you. These kids,
Facts.
Listen, second and third graders, especially second graders, y'all, Lord.
Listen, I had a moment yesterday. I attended Pike High School graduation, and that was my last class that I taught 5th grade. That was actually my last class I taught teaching until I transitioned to administration. And that's the memory lane we went down yesterday. And it was so funny because they remember so much stuff that I didn't even know I said. But we laughed because I told them, I was like, now look how you turned out.
Yeah.
You know, but no, I was always straightforward with them. Yeah. I just had my son. And having them and my students are always like my children. They know I call them my children. And so being my forever student, it was just special to see them transition into life. So honestly, that's like full circle of why too, is when you see them grow up and you don't realize what they will become because they're sitting in a classroom as a 5th grader. And I tell them, like, y'all all adults now. Like, you know, we're shifting the conversations to, like, life. And, you know, I have a few students that have kids now, so now parenthood and just being proud of them about, you know, careers and college and all those things. And so it's really been a joy. It is. More came out of the experience than what I expected back then when I played with my dogs.
yeah, definitely. It is, like, good to see kids and good to see them like doing good stuff, or even just seeing them, even if you haven't seen the kid in a while. So like I would go to the detention center and speak, and it's been a long time since I've done that, and this kid still to this day see me and be like, what up, man, how you doing? Hold on, who are you? Because you never know how kids are. And I'm like, oh, okay, oh yeah. I don't remember them per se, but I remember being there. And it's like good when kids can remember something you said or something you did that they still can remember years later. Because I know my kids, they will repeat, what would I say? I would say, what the bazoozles? And because they're kindergartners, and they always, it would be one kid that always would, like, he would just say it, and I'm like, he'd probably go home and his parents.
They say it, yeah. Oh yeah.
But I can see the joy from you just saying that, like seeing them students. You probably cried.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did, because all I could think about, and I told them, and I still have their pictures, so I said, all my students I taught, I still have my classes. So I sent it to them, and they were just like, wow. And, you know, and it is joy, because, I mean, you know, every child is not going to be your cookie cutter, what people consider to be perfect. And I was like, I don't want that. I never wanted to teach perfect. I was like, let's teach with joy and open-mindedness and just have fun with it, because I'm just so proud of all of them. I really am, and they know that. Like, I love them so much, and I'm grateful to the parents. And that's why I told the parents yesterday, I'm grateful that you all trusted me to be able to guide your child in the season in their life. And the fact that they still wanted to continue the bond of contact, you know, because a lot of times, you know, you got teachers that are rubbing around, like, I don't even want to talk to you after I leave your class.
Yeah.
You know, and so for me, that does feel good, because they do want to continue, and they have kept me updated on things they've done. And so many of the kids' names that was called yesterday, I was like, y'all still in the area. So it's good to know that they didn't leave, you know, the district, and they're still following along. It was like 10 of them, and I was like, wow. And they were all still together. So I think that's just so special. And it did. I always cry at graduations. Yeah. So very special to me.
I don't know if I will cry. I probably will, because I'm a crier when other people cry. Yeah. And I know her mama going to cry, ugly cry.
Oh, yeah. And you think about the journey. I mean, you know, because, you know, I mean, it's a testimony. And then for a lot of students, too, they had to learn and had to do high school in the pandemic. So you having to be at home on a device for several hours, and like the experience that you wanted to just even build relationships with people or get to know your teachers, you're doing it through a screen. So even with that, my hat's off to them, because that was a barrier that they had that we didn't experience. Yeah. So really, they're a special group. They really are. And if you say adversity, they definitely have faced adversity.
Yeah, like kids definitely face adversity. I think more so when you're a teacher, you see it. Oh. Like you see like real live stuff go on with kids, and it's like it's all right, man. You having a bad day. I get it.
Correct.
I understand. Go put your head down.
Facts,
You
yeah.
off. You can take the day off. You still here, but like, cause I don't think people realize. I don't think people give kids grace.
Say
Like
that again.
we have bad days as adults. We have mental health days. We self care. But if a kid come to us, they oh no, you need to go do this because you're a child. And I think that's the separation in generations from when I was a kid. Is do as I say. You have no opinion. You're a child, and it almost makes you feel like. Not saying my particular parents, but that age group, that era, like you really didn't have a say so to nothing. It's like you just had to do it because you was a kid. But okay, I ain't eating at home. Y'all want me to come here? I'm hungry.
Right.
What you do when you hungry? I'm mad. I'm ready to slap somebody when I'm hungry. So if they hungry, you want them to come in here and learn?
Yeah.
Nah, we gotta be more realistic to when it comes to children and giving them, like I said earlier, grace. Because God give us grace, we gotta give them
Yes,
grace.
it does. But you know what though? I think again, as hard as the pandemic was with tragedies, it also exposed a lot of behaviors that we carried that were not necessarily the best. And so I agree with that. And so a lot of times, I grew up old school too, from the South. Born and raised in Georgia. And so I'm grateful for my structure. Because I definitely got structure. They definitely got rearing. They didn't play no games.
Yeah.
And, in hindsight, I appreciate that because that's what I feel is necessary for kids. You need to teach structure.
Yeah.
You need to teach consistency. You have to, be firm and fair with them, but being consistent in what you expect from them too. But then, like you said, on the other side, allowing them to be able to share their voice. Now, don't be disrespectful in your response. And that's something I always share with any of my students and especially my kids as well. Don't be disrespectful in your response because I want to hear you and validate you, but I also want you to understand that you do have a level, and that level is you are a child, and also too we want to make sure that we help build you to understand how to have those conversations and know that it's okay to express yourself. But I do agree with that wholeheartedly because a lot of times we're shutting children off from sharing what they really feel and the things that are happening. Because many times I had plenty of my children used to come hungry, but they know. My kids never were, and that's probably why they do like me so much. I used to make sure they ate. We had celebrations. I'm gonna feed them food. Why? Because they're hungry, and so we're going to eat. But it was like a thing of just nurturing them. And when you nurture them, they want to work hard for you.
Yeah.
And that was never an issue because I got told, I was like, I like snacks too. We gotta eat.
Yeah.
You tired. I'm tired too. So they knew. I used to always sit in my room I actually had like a cute couch, like a sit up like this. But I had a rug, had couches, so they know if you did need to take your rest, nobody questioned it. Why? Because you recognized your classmate was tired. And then when they got up, it was time to work. So, but that didn't require embarrassment or belittling the child because at the end of the day, you don't know where they came from or what they're going to go home to when they leave you. So I always prayed over them and asked God to cover them in their space and thank them for for coming. And they showed up. They just showed up every day. Yeah. They did.
Yeah,
they did.
I think with what you just said, adults got to realize you can't disrespect kids.
No.
Because I'm the same way with my kids. You can talk but don't be disrespectful. But sometimes adults are disrespectful because they look lesser at a kid.
Oh yeah.
And it's like you can't do that because these kids will make you want to fight them.
Well, many of them will go there. Oh yeah. But again, behavior is communication. They just you have to teach children and train them how to respond. But for many, if your response is to lash out, they are going to do that. Yeah. But also they're not thinking of you in that moment as an adult. They're thinking of you. They're going to put that wall up on you already. Yeah. They're looking at you as you are disrespecting me. You're violating my space. And so, therefore, that's why you get the quick response, or you may get the attitudes and disrespectful words and all those things. They do that. But honestly, the adults have to be transparent as well. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes when you're talking to your friend or your mate or whatever the case may be, some of those words pop off and be disrespectful too. So we have to just realize that children are always watching us, and so we have to teach them the way we want to be treated because ultimately we're the ones that's supposed to guide them to become who we are. It's because when we sit down and we retire, they're supposed to be the ones to take the torch. If they don't see a model, then they can't. They're only mirroring what they see.
Yeah. So you've been in education for a while, and you went from the South where there's more melanin down there, so there's going to be more melanin in the schools.
Mm-hmm.
You come up here to Indiana.
Yeah. Yeah.
It ain't too many. It's a small portion. It's a small portion. So, what is your take on the importance of a black person in schools? Because I feel like I worked in a school and they just let me go, and I feel like because I'm me in a certain, and I'm just me. Like I'm not coming in uh, to follow how you want me to look, but I'm coming in to follow what you need me to do, as in get these kids the results they need. But I feel like maybe I talk a certain way, or I look a certain way, or I joke, just be a certain way. But what do you think the importance of black teachers in the schools?
Yeah. So you're accurate. I grew up all black school leaders, all black teachers. My high school, we probably had 2 white students, but they were the best. They were the best. Great bonds, but and even in high school, like I said, I saw African American leadership. So that's why I wasn't new to that, because I recognized, like, okay, regardless of what your race may be, the role that you have. It's an important role you're leading the school. And so, of course, when you go anywhere else, you think that you will see the same thing. And that was new for me, because it was not that space. But that's how I also knew, as I was teaching, that eventually I would become a school leader. That I knew I wanted to get into administration, because I was like, this is a gap. And so Indianapolis is definitely home. And so I knew, okay, I'm not going back to Georgia. That wasn't, that's not the plan right now. But I knew that if I'm going to make myself comfortable in this space, and also too, am I going to help the education landscape, I want to get into leadership, because I know it's necessary. Because we do need to be in those spaces to make some decisions, and quite naturally, because we're speaking for a voice of a group of students that have needs. I mean, we are, and I think a lot of times in this space, people want to box us into what traditional education looks like. But I also tell people too, I grew up with old school teachers. So the structures of education came from, you got home at school, and whether you wanted it or not. So they're gonna check on you, they're gonna check you, they're gonna nurture you, they're gonna do all those things. And so culturally too, many of my teachers, and my principals also, they lived in the neighborhood. So like, we all knew where they stayed at. Like, we all knew, they were immersed in it. So they lived up the street from the elementary school. So it wasn't uncommon, and so therefore their commitment to the community was there because they lived in it. And so I also think that plays a part too, because even if you are not an educator of color, how do you build a connection with students? How do you get to know them? Do you spend time at their schools? For many, do you take an opportunity to attend their churches or, sports events and those things? But the presence of African American educators is critical to me. And I think people don't realize, when you do have African American educators in the space, it's not just for our children. It supports everybody. Yep. It does. Because that's just the nature of our culture. Our culture, we support everybody. Yep. We do. I mean, we will put our focus last to make sure everybody else is good. And I think right now we're dealing with this in education, that it is basically recognized that the shortage is high of African American educators, because we're tired and burned out. And so I can say that transparently, because I know what it felt like. I mean, I think a lot of times too, when you work so hard to do so well, you seek to, not to say seek to please, but because ultimately those who will make the difference, that it will impact, will be the students. They feel it. But I think also too, we got to look at in terms of just like humans. We all desire, to receive praise. We all desire to receive support. And I think, as educators, we already financially don't get the support that we need. And many of our educators, and I was too, worked a second job. I mean, that's hence why I started my business. But, and that's all I've known. We have to. And we shouldn't have to do that to supplement income. Because the primary job that we have is we're molding the world. Yeah. And we're molding the world in 8 hours a day. And then it's like, okay, I'm giving to 25 plus kids. And then if you have a family, you're going home and you have to pour yourself into another group of people, that you live with every day. And so if you have to work a second job, somebody's not getting all of you. And I think that's one of the prayers that I have for where we are right now, education, because I do want people to recognize the value that we have, which, as you can see all over news and media and all these webinars and everything else about wanting to recruit, educators and educators of color. And I think the thing is, people don't want to have a transparent conversations. We were already there.
Yeah.
How did you treat us while we were there? And did you support us the way we should? Because we should not be the bouncer. We should not be, of course you're educated to teach knowledge and give curriculum. But some people, no, seriously, and it's like that. I had my fair share.
No, listen. I understand, because especially being a black man, like in a school, because it's not too many. Mm-hmm. It's like, you send them kids to them.
Yeah,
and that's cool. But send the kids when they do good too.
That's right.
Don't just send them when they do bad. Send them when they do good.
That's right.
Because I learned, because I used to be rah. Like rah. You kind of get that, and then I just have a comment. I break it down to the simplest. Student come to me, what you crying for? I don't like being yelled at. Okay, so why were you getting yelled at? Because I wasn't doing such and such. So if you were doing what you were supposed to, would you got yelled at? No. So what should you do? Go back and do what I'm supposed to. Okay, it's just that. It's just that simple. But like you were saying, those that aren't melanin, that don't look like us, they're not in the culture. Or if you're in the culture to try to be cool, but not learn the culture to actually be able to communicate, to be able to understand. Because if you come from the other side of the tracks and you teaching kids that's from the hood, they can't relate to that. Mm-hmm. You can't relate to them. Their struggles is different than yours. Even if you're from not even maybe the hood, but maybe you live down the street, your struggle's a little different. You might not even understand, because there's kids that go through stuff. I ain't never have to go through that.
Oh yeah.
But then it's like, when you don't connect yourself, how can you expect them to connect? Because kids, they want to trust you. They want to know that you care.
They do.
If you don't show that you care and you just there just because it's a job, they're not gonna mess with you. But what you said about the pay, I don't understand it. I don't understand how you don't pay the people. Like you said, we're molding the future. Every day we dealing with your bad kids, your smart mouth kids. We dealing with your problems. Yeah. We dealing with your smart mouth because you want to come in and be this way. We gotta not making enough. Then gotta get a second job. Then if you got your own kids, you might forget about they education because you tired of school. You don't want to do nothing when you get home. Like literally every day, I was mentally drained. I needed a nap. Yeah. It didn't have to be like a long 30 minutes to an hour. I needed a nap because I was mentally drained. It's like I don't want to look at this computer, but I need to for my own business. Mm-hmm. But the school didn't drain, or the kids, they won today.
Yeah.
And people don't realize what teachers go through. It ain't just then you gotta do curriculum, go to boring PDs, deal with all this other stuff. People, and we get the bare minimum pay.
Oh yeah, there's layers and layers of this work. That's what I always tell people. But people always ask, like, how can I help? And I do encourage anybody, like, connect to a school. Mm-hmm. Go be involved, go volunteer, do something that outside of your day to day, because you have to be able to put yourself in the shoes of those who do it daily. Mm-hmm. And then you also too, I think that also brings awareness as to why people are leaving the profession, because they are. And like you said, it takes a lot. It really does. And like I said, I taught for 15 years, and I love the work. I would tell anybody, hands down, the joy I have in the classroom, I light up. I really do, because it is my time to be extremely creative. It's my time to bring energy to the children, and it's a stage. Like you give your best performance for them. And you never lower the level of expectation. And I do think that is something that is happening right now. Because, again, even if you're not, your lean may not be, you may not be, you didn't walk into the space as in, your first choice of profession was education. You have to recognize, like, those pieces are important in order to do this work well. And you definitely have to make sure that you understand that you got to have yourself regulated too. Before you give yourself to students, because all of those things, like you said, your emotions will come out. You being tired comes out. You know, you thinking about your own household, like what you got to do with your kids, especially they're involved in activities.
Oh,
you know, that's another lean that we're really involved into now. So shifting multiple hats and just trying to do it right. And I think the hard part is like people know the answers, but they're not making the answers become a reality. Yeah. And I think that's sad because we would have way more people still in the work.
Yes,
if
the pay was worth it, is you paying us just barely to make it, and then we going through all this. No, and then if teachers got ideas or no, we should do it. This is how the curriculum, because especially if you're a charter school and you pay by somebody, you gotta do it this way. But I think there needs to be different roles. Like everybody don't need to be necessarily a teacher. Like the English, like there needs to be different roles in schools to teach kids to get ready for life.
Agreed.
Because those few classes that as long as you learn how to read, write, math, you good for the most part. There's certain stuff that you need to learn or whatever. But I feel like there's different roles that people, especially people of color, need to be in the room or in the school to help. Not necessarily a discipline. Not even somebody that you don't even have to have a degree, but you good with kids. You can come in and maybe have a workshop or a session just to get the kids. Because kids really, even though it be seeming like they don't, kids love those after school programs and stuff. They might, I don't like it. They show up. I did an after school program. They show up. You hear other kids talking about you now because kids, you doing right. I think it's just other ways we can get people involved in schools. But it's enough money printed every day. If you listening, I'm gonna put the clip out. I need to give teachers more money, like for real. Teachers, administrators, everybody, janitor, everybody that works in the school and deal with your kids. The people that make the money, it's somebody that deal with your kids. Give them more money. You give money to all this other stuff, to building this and building that. Yeah. But if you took if every teacher was just to go on strike, what would you do? Well, I mean, there's ways, but what would you do?
The sad part about it is there are states that has happened. And then I think also, too, the pandemic was a shutdown. And if nothing surprised anybody then, that should have been an eye-opener because, like I said, in my day-to-day, I do serve the director of schools for the Indiana Charter School Board. And so we now have 40 schools honored, 40 amazing leaders who truly give this work every day, and many good friends that are school leaders and teachers and also leaders in this work. But they'll tell you firsthand, parents really got a true understanding of what it was like to have to be able to educate your child every day. Yeah. And you had to do your job. So if you had to say, like, what was a test, that experience should have been a test to the world. Because if you recognize how much you struggle just as someone who doesn't work in the profession, think about what we have to do every day and what we do every day. Yeah. That is literally it. Yeah. You literally, there's been times where you have many educators, you don't want to call off work because you don't have days. So your child may have to come into your classroom and sit up under your desk. But that was what was happening, right? Yeah. But it also put us in perspective of what matters the most. Mm-hmm. And we do love our children. And I'll tell you, I always put my students like my children because they know that. But you really had to like balance out who matters more. Yep. The people that I brought into this world that that are mine, that I'm responsible for, or is it a job? And so I think that I honestly, I said that at one point. I was like, people understood who was in the pandemic, but do they really understand what was supposed to come out of the experience? Because many jobs did shift. But education is one that did not. Mm-hmm. We are still in 5 days, and we do have, and to attest to what you were saying about the support from outside resources, I'm honored to know a lot of nonprofit organizations, leaders that are trying to immerse themselves into schools with financial literacy, students being able to understand just the basic life skills. Yeah. And we do need that because many of our children don't receive that support. And they don't know where to get it from or how to start. But I prefaced when we first started that I do appreciate Indianapolis because there are so many resources here. It's insane. It is insane. There's something for everybody. But I think the thing that people don't realize is people's availability to those resources. Yeah. Because, yes, there's everything. And like you said, there's money being printed every day and there's money being thrown out. But how many people actually take time to take those things into the school or give their time and say, hey, I do want to run a club. I do want to run an after-school program. And there are schools that are flexible in those spaces that will allow for partnerships to come in. But I think we have to really recognize too the focus of children. What are the needs of the kids? And that's from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade, and even from many of my schools, adult high schools, that want support, that want guidance, that need it, that yearn for it. But I think it's just relationships that are not being developed that need to be, just like us. The blessing of LinkedIn, right? Yeah. And that's why I tell anybody, if you know me, like, he was like, you're everywhere. But I'm everywhere because I recognize that there are so many needs that happen here. And most of the time, I'm in a lot of places because I'm getting resources back from my schools or my community. I'm also, too, a board member for Leading Ladies. That's one of my major passions. One of my former parents, she started a mentoring program, and I taught her daughter. And so just even
I know. I had her on here.
Yeah, it's LaTanya Brown. Mm-hmm. And so even opportunities like that is just powerful because it is like we're trying to triage the needs of our community, and it's like, just let us.
Yeah.
If there's so much fight between what happens in the day-to-day education, allow those entities to come in and provide support because they are there. And we are trying to rebuild and bring something different to our kids. Our kids deserve it, y'all. Our kids deserve it. Yes. We got to be willing to want to do it.
Yeah. And like you said, it's got to be like there's different programs and schools are hesitant to do it or whatever. You just got to figure out that way of getting in there. Because I remember my mom putting me in different stuff in school. And I'm like, why in the world is what was it? Focus on the future. It was. I'm like, man, why is? And this the crazy thing. Everything she put me in, I do.
Yep.
Mentor program, entrepreneur, all that different stuff because I got to see something different. Because the world we live in now, nobody really want to go to a job. You don't really got to. You can go on YouTube University and sign up now, and you can learn something. And you could be making money depending on what it is.
This is true.
So it's like education is important. But we gotta teach self-education because kids think, "Oh, I graduated, I don't gotta learn." No, you dumb if you think you don't gotta learn because you gotta learn every day. We are two different ages. Every day we learn something different.
Yes,
we learn something new because if you don't learn, if you don't keep educating yourself, you're gonna be stuck. So it's like
that's right.
The school. I get the school system, but you gotta put stuff in there where they understand how to get past that because. Like you got parents, we got to work 2-3 jobs. We might not be able to help our kids in a certain way, but if you got the place that they go 8 hours out the day and you show them this is how you could start a podcast, this is how you could do this, this is how you could do this, the world would change. It would be less violence because everybody love making money. You show somebody how to make the money and then they see the money coming, they going to make the money because it's just like when you sell drugs. You put a kid out there, hey, here, you go sell that, you going to get this. Oh, okay, I can make this amount of money. You do the same thing in a positive way, that's going to happen.
You do the same, that's right. You're even better results.
Yeah, even better,
wholeheartedly. I do. I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I pray on this daily, I really do, that, the world will continue to shift and see something different. Because, again, our kids, and this all too well, like you said, just the opportunity of them with social media, to the positive.
Yeah.
But their exposure to things so early and they're so smart and they can pick up multiple talents and do so much stuff, and they really do. A lot of them have many advantages that we didn't have. Their age, and I'm like, I wish somebody did tell me I could start an LLC. The sophisticated diva would have been out there a long time ago.
But when we were younger though, people had businesses, but they didn't have the paperwork.
Correct.
They didn't have,
we was unofficial.
Yes, now we're in the times of you can't be official. It's not as hard as it may seem. Like when I got my LLC, people congrats. I'm like, this wasn't that hard to do. Yeah. Like you just gotta have a plan and go do it.
That's right.
And sometimes I think we looking for celebrities. We're looking for famous people. And there's people in the community, like a school.
We are the celebrities.
It could be it could be who just giving a name and Mike Epps. Oh, he's in town. Let's have him come to the kids. You got somebody that's doing that, pouring in, boom. But you would overlook him because he might not have as many followers or whatever. I think we got to.
But they got to go back to how he started.
Yeah.
How did Mike Epps become Mike Epps?
Yeah.
And also too recognize, like, even for him. he doesn't forget about his home.
Nope, he doing a movie here. My buddy, he's
special.
he's an extra in the movie because they doing it at our I don't think I'm supposed to say the word. I don't know. I'm not even a part of it.
But later on, right?
But yeah, he was a part of it, and he's doing it in different locations and stuff of that sort. So it's really cool to see somebody like that. But then you have people in the community that's like that, so you should reach them.
Agreed.
And me and you talked about this on the phone, and like here in Indianapolis, like it don't matter where they came from, who they grew up with, who they mom is. It's just if somebody doing something positive, just work with them. Yeah. If they got the right character, if they got the right integrity, just work with them. It don't gotta be somebody you knew or they in a clique. Just work with them people because that can change the world. Because that's how we teaching our kids. If you don't really look at it, oh, I don't mess with them because my homie don't mess with them, and then they act that way. It's like that ain't your homie. Ain't got nothing to do with me. Can your homie help me get some money? Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry y'all not cool, but I'm about to hang with them.
And you missing out on a good person. Because think about it. Yeah. Just us. I'm just so grateful. Like even connecting with you through, like you said, through LinkedIn and actually taking the time to reach out to somebody. But you don't realize people too miss out on so many blessings when you don't take a leap of faith sometimes. Yep. And I never say, I always say that nothing is done by chance. Yep. Like everything always happens the way it's supposed to. And I love alignment. And it really, for me, connected more during the pandemic because like even for my business, a lot of amazing entrepreneurs I met out of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. Several Facebook groups. Because what you had to do? You had time to build yourself or figure out what your new hobby is because you were at home and you were not necessarily bored, but it was like, I can't go outside. But technically, it was time for you to think and process what should your next step be. And many of those organizations and many of those businesses were amazing. And I tell anybody today, and many of the people who support my business are people I did not know. Yeah, and I'm grateful.
That's where you get your most support from. Yeah.
It's not always
from nobody. We've never met each other, but when you listen, you be like, "Dang, they've been knowing each other for a minute." Nope, we had one conversation on the phone, and like you just said, you got to be able to. Like I just lost my thought. I don't know why. What'd you come back? Yeah. But just
be okay with building connections with people.
No, building connections. I know what it was. It was. God wanted us to sit down. Yes, like we were doing all this different stuff, and He just wanted us to sit down. You can't go nowhere because if you think about it, more entrepreneurs, more people were business owners was built during the pandemic because you didn't have nothing else to do, or like I got.
But you had time to think.
Yeah,
that was what your season was. Yeah. It was time for you to slow down and think. Are you doing is your day-to-day purposeful? Yeah. Are you walking to somebody else's vision? Or should you walk to your own vision? Yep. I do. And I think it also pushed out a lot of release of frustrations because people were frustrated with their day-to-day on somebody else's job. Yeah.
And I love for myself, personally, I love pandemic. I made a lot of money. I was able to do things. Yeah. I didn't. No, I didn't. Because I had just got divorced right before.
But it was a transition. It was a new season for
you. And then I was by myself. I'm like, okay, I like to talk to people. Like my son, we had to figure that out of him coming over. But yeah, it was like by myself, and that's when I found who I wanted to be and what I was supposed to be. But one thing with the pandemic though, some kids, it hurt them. Because like you were saying earlier, I was thinking in my head, because my son, he was a pandemic, he started school in the pandemic, kindergarten. He didn't have a kindergarten graduation. Yeah. First grade, he didn't go to school. Second grade, he finally, maybe in the middle of the year, this last school year was his first year all the way in school. Yeah. And it's like, as parents, I feel somewhat like, dang, maybe I didn't help him as much because he struggles in one area in school, and it's like, hey, well, how did I notice that? But then you get caught up in life, and then that makes you sit back as a parent, like, I can't be helping y'all kids and I ain't helping my kids. Right. So I think that pandemic helped a lot of people, hurt some people, but it was a way for you to figure out what you need to do, because everybody's not meant to go to a job, but everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur either, and you got to mix the two together, and that's how you help the kids. I think more people, they need to not look at how someone looks and bring people in, because that's how a kid's gonna look. just because a person got tattoos and all this stuff.
Right.
It's gonna be some little little them. They gonna have all the little tattoos and all that, and they gonna want to be able to have a job and go. Because when I was younger, it's like, you got a tattoo.
I know.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
you got the big piercings. Oh, you'll never get a job.
Yeah.
Why not? Or even think about names. You be like, why would you name your child that? Now, if you create your own stuff, you can do whatever with your name.
Hair, everything.
Yeah,
oh,
but
everything against it that could be used as like a distraction of the fact that I'm like, hey, I'm actually talented. I can do the work. Now let's focus on the why I have the job.
Yeah.
You know, your personality shines when you're able to be yourself.
Yep.
That's how you show up for the work, but that's a distraction. Like, no, I could do the work.
Yeah.
Despite what somebody else may say the appearance may be. And we're showing our children too that it's okay to be different. It's okay to be unique. It's okay to stand out. You're not supposed to look like somebody else. We're not traditional. Like that's not how we're created.
No,
we're not.
Yeah. And I'm always, India. She told me to pray about some stuff because traditional stuff. I just don't rock with a lot of traditional stuff of how things go because I think when you think outside the box on certain stuff, it'll help. Because for me, I look different than everybody. So when I go to a basketball court, they like, oh, he can't hoop. Okay, that's fine. You can think that. But then when they see, and then I always wonder if kids or people around me ever notice how hard it is for me to do stuff, even though it looks easy to the outside eye. But like, if I play, like when I played basketball, I remember I coached, and these girls like, I can't do. I said, you can't do what? You got your full length of arms, and you can't do what? I have less length and a lot of struggles with hand mobility, and you can't do what? So it's like, you look at somebody else's hard, and then you like, I can go do that. Because everybody looks at the bright lights. They look at, oh, look at Steph Curry. He can make all these shots. Look at LeBron. He's LeBron from the projects. He was raised by a single mother. So you can't look at, you can't look at my journey as like, or you could be like, dang, he going through something. So what I thought I was going through ain't something. Or the same thing with you. Like somebody losing a parent. I ain't never lost it. Well, I lost my dad, my biological dad when I was 4. I didn't know him. But if I lost my mom, I would have to go to somebody that has had that. Sometimes people, you'll deal with something, you going through a divorce, not you, but somebody going through a divorce and they talking to single people.
Yeah.
Or your marriage messed up. What? No, you go talk to the right people and don't look at somebody because don't not go to somebody because they look a certain way. Because homeless people can give you some advice that you never know. Because they can be like, hey, I did this, and I shouldn't have done this. And you don't do that and you won't end up there. So it shouldn't look, don't go off appearance, go off people's heart. It don't matter if black, white, Asian, wherever they are. Because the person's heart is going to tell you more than anything. It's just like if you look at a person and they going through life and they may be doing drugs, selling drugs, whatever, but they praying to God, they telling him his heart. God ain't looking at him, well, you sold that 10 pack of weed, 10 diamond weed today, I'm not going to mess with you. No, he going to be like, okay, I understand your heart, so I'm going to help you. And that's the same thing with people. Stop looking at people on the outside, look at people on the inside. Because everybody on the outside, everything that's beautiful ain't beautiful. Sometimes it's ugly.
Amen. Well, I'll tell you, that's so funny you say that because that's actually, the heart is one of Pearl Heart, that is one of the symbols in my business because I'm rooted in that. Rooted in love and also caring about the heart of others. I completely agree with that. And I think that we have to sometimes get off of our high horse and humble ourselves because many times people get a shot and they forget what it was like when they struggled, or they forget when it's like when they have had hardship, or to endure things that, even our children may have endured. Humble yourself. Like, we got to go back to the things that matter the most. And again, I do think we are in a season of things are coming back full circle. The things that matter the most and the things that work well are what's coming back to the fold. And that's where it's kind of like make or breaking people, because that is a space that people didn't want to step into. Because even in the work that we do, especially as in the education space, it's not easy work. It is rewarding work when done well. But if you set that bar of excellence back to where it should have been to begin with, we will recognize that it's smooth sailing, because we cannot dumb down anything for our children. And because we have to look at who's the ones that are suffering, and it's our children who can show up and do the most. They just have life struggles that are happening beyond their control. They
Yeah.
can't, in anything, like you said too. And I will definitely say that I grew up in a single parent home, mother raising three girls, and I lost my mom the senior year of my high school. Well, the summer of my high school graduation actually, and so transitioning to my new season in life, I was like, I can't. She would not have wanted me to stop. You can't quit. And I do. I'm a firm believer. I always said, don't quit. And anything that you do, see it through. Don't quit. And if you need time, take time. If you need space, take space. If you need a mentor or somebody to talk to you, to pour into you, like you said, do something to fill your cup, but don't quit, because you don't ever want to give up on an opportunity, and you don't know your purpose, what you're walking into, is somebody else's blessing as well. And so it's so funny because we just talked about shout out to New Beginnings Fellowship Church, but we talked about just the seasons of Bible study not too long ago. Your purpose is not your purpose, and that has become my new saying. Shout out Pastor Mo and Pastor Jackson. But our season and our purpose is not our purpose. It's what we do is to set up for someone else.
Yep.
And I'm specific in that, even with just around like how I operate with students
Yep.
and families and anybody that I meet, because you don't know what that conversation to somebody is going to do for them. You may have just talked somebody down the ledge. You might have talked somebody from suicide. You may have encouraged somebody else to want to become an entrepreneur. You may have encouraged somebody else to want to do a podcast. Because I was so excited to even do this with you, because I was like, I usually, you go live on your phone, but it's like, it's real special when you get to sit down and just talk.
Yeah.
And that's why I even love the name, the underdog. Like that's and it's a lot of underdogs walking around here. And it's a lot of underdogs in the city that really feel like nobody's hearing them, or they haven't gotten their shot. So Eric, I'm gonna shout you out for allowing us to have a platform to be able to get our shot, or to be able just to share transparency, because we're not the ideal people that people choose, but we're out here doing the work.
Yep, that's it. That's what the underdog is. I think for me, I just been the underdog since birth, because when I was born, the doctors didn't even know what it was born in the 80s. It's like, oh, we never seen this. So I just took that to heart, that I'm really the underdog, and I'm never like you said, you can't quit because there's people watching you. Like my kids watch me, and I remember my daughter like checked me once. It was like, you asked me to do this, but I'm watching you and you not doing what you said, and it's like, ooh, okay. Yeah. I gotta do this because like you said, your purpose ain't like I wasn't born this way for me. You think I want to be born and have all these surgeries and all? It's for the future. It's for my kids and its kids in the world to see somebody going through something and they can get through it by having perseverance and having heart and putting God in their life. So it's always like, that's one of the reasons you can't give up, because when you understand, especially if you're doing something to leave an impact, you understand it's not about you. It's if it's about you, then you're in the wrong field.
That's right.
Like, it don't even matter. It really, nothing that you really do is for you per se. Like, it's certain
desires. It's to fulfill something else or someone.
It's for somebody else.
Oh yeah, because by the time you finish doing all that, you tired.
Yeah, and as I'm thinking about all kind of, like, it's not even for you. So it's like, when you do something for somebody, don't bring it back up.
That's right.
Just let them go. Just let it. You did it because you supposed to. You did it because you loved them. You did it because you love to help somebody else out. Like, this is I don't know. We went all over, and then we was on education. Then we kind of got a little life going. I usually ask 3 tips. I'm trying to think what area I want you to get these tips in. Mm-hmm. For educators, people in education, what are 3 tips that they can do to make their school year better when the school year comes up?
Oh, sure. Build relationships. The value of a bond is everlasting, and it will set you up for success. It really will. So I definitely say take the time to build relationships, and that is for teachers and for administrators, any staff member. Build a relationship and get to know the person for the person. Despite what you may have heard, whatever their background may be. I think it's always important to never stop learning. Be a lifelong learner. Always continue to pour more into yourself, whether that be get more certifications, go to professional development that fills your bucket, because you don't know what your season might be. And I tell anybody, I always woke up saying that I was going to be a teacher for 30 years. And God said something different. So I followed his plan. And his plan is way better than what I could have ever came up with because I would still be in the four walls. And that had its place during that time. And if I didn't carry out his will, I couldn't be able to impact as many people as I have now and still love the word. So definitely, like I said, continue to expand and grow and build yourself. And I think the last one, too, is um, just the love for the word. Like, we got to get back to the heart of loving what we do. And education is a space where that can happen. And I think it's sad because people have to be careful on how they show up. Because if you bring your frustrations about things that you can't control onto children, they take on your energy. And so if they see that you don't seem excited about the work, then they feel like, okay, why do you even want me here? And we got to be careful with that because, as you said, they are watching us. And so we have to remember that if we want to be the change that we desire for communities and for the world, we have to do things differently. And I think that is going to be the deal breaker for where we are in education right now.
I love those. I love those 3 tips. Let everyone know. Well, before I always give people their flowers, I appreciate everything that you do. You're a dope individual. Keep doing what you've been doing, especially with the school system, because working in the school system and seeing people that are in administration or higher ranking, they don't necessarily care. And I can tell that you care just from our conversation and just watching your expression, talking about kids. So I'm glad that you do care because there's people in power that don't care and they just think it as a job and just go through the motions and don't care about where the kids are going to be after they leave the school. So thank you for that. Tell people how they can reach you.
Sure. So I am on Facebook and Instagram. Well, Facebook under my name, Sherie Scott, but also on Facebook under my business, The Sophisticated Diva. And also I am on LinkedIn, Sherie Scott. And on Instagram, I am Noble Heart 1913. And I'm also The Sophisticated Diva. So always available. And then my website, The Sophisticated Diva.myshopify.com. So that's how you can catch me.
Question: 1913. Which
I am a Delta. I am a member.
I'm glad I didn't say what I was thinking because I was thinking the other
yes,
one.
I'm a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Shout out to my home chapter, Delta Rho chapter, Albany State University, Albany, Georgia, and the Indianapolis Alumni chapter. So honored to serve you too.
No, my sister's an AKA.
Come on now. Love to my D9 sister.
Yeah. But no, I knew when you said that what that was. I couldn't remember which one was 1913, but that's dope. We need a quote. And then like a little closing word, like
sure.
Little, I don't know, whatever you feel comes to your heart. But I need a quote. It could be your quote. It could be a quote from somebody else. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it is truly what's on my LinkedIn page, and it's one that I follow daily. Nelson Mandela. Education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. That is my staple every day. And my goal is always to remember that the work that I do is a weapon and it is powerful. And so that is how you can knock down negativity. That's how you can knock down naysayers, those who don't believe in our kids, that don't think things are possible. If you continue to gain knowledge and read and learn, which is what society does not want from us, you're a game changer. So you can change the world. That is my quote.
And on that note, keep being great. Have a great day.
Yes, y'all take care.